absolutely wild as Vern Gagne's All-Star Wrestling goes coast to coast and continent to continent. The greatest wrestlers in the world.
He may be an apprentice carpenter, but I guarantee you he is a seasoned ring veteran.
I've been hit with bar stools, bar rags, barmaids.
I'm talking to you.
They're scared that Hulkamania's still running wild. Oh, yeah. I got a big fat wife and 9 kids at home, and I gotta feed them.
And take a look at Jesse the Body in real life.
Open your hand once, if you would.
You want to see it?
This is absolutely unbelievable. Totally, completely out of control.
He's coming in over the top. Hey! Look out!
Well, if we talk about out of control, we're going to talk about AWA Unleashed. When we talk about AWA Unleashed, I think about these two guys, Slick Mick and Polish Joe, right? You guys are unleashed, unhinged, unchanged.
Out of control, yeah.
Out of control. Calm down. Calm
down.
down.
A lot of uns.
A lot of uns. That's us, yeah.
Hey, I say, let's get right into the show. It's not my fault that we have to rush into this.
Yeah.
But I know that our guest has got a bit of a time crunch. I say we give him as much time as we can. Let's do the shilling and everything else on the back end.
Okay. Well, that sounds good because, I mean, listen, sometimes you have guys that are handsome. Sometimes you have guys that are slick. Sometimes you have guys that are Polish. But very seldom do you get somebody who's gorgeous.
That's right. I noticed you didn't put you in that category.
Well, I'm none of those. I'm just me.
Gotcha. Well, let me intro this gentleman. And I'm going to, as they say in the business, put him over, because in wrestling, there are those who are elevated to kind of superstar status, and they're given all the glory and all the flowers and everything else. And then there's the people who, they main evented and they made a big splash in the business, but they're still underrated, if that's imaginable. And the guest that we're going to have today, I think, is one of the greatest, most entertaining performers in professional wrestling history. And that's not hyperbole. This guy has done everything in the business, but we're going to kind of focus on the AWA specifically. And Joe, as you said, it's not his fault. Chris, you said he's gorgeous. Let's bring him in. Jimmy Garvin, where are you?
Hey, well, that's quite an intro, Mick. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Jimmy, we could spend hours talking about your career, everything you have done in the business. But because we're kind of, a little AWA focused here, and you were here only 4 decades ago, we'll see if any of us can remember your run. But Joe, I know you got a memory of Jimmy.
So in no way, shape, or form, Jimmy, do I think that you're going to remember this, but it was right after Super Clash. You and Regal, with the help of the Freebirds, just beat the Road Warriors in St. Paul for the tag straps. That Monday morning, this guy, well, minus about 41 years, as a 20-year-old, I came in and ran camera. Myself and Will Bryan, 2 young 20-year-old kids, came in and ran cameras for the interviews that you, Patty, and Steve did for those straps. So having you on this podcast is sort of a full circle for my career. 41 years later, the guy that first one that was on camera in my career, and here we are, you're on the podcast. So just wanted to say hello again.
Hey, it's a small world, isn't it? That's what they say, and that proves to be true many, many times. Well, that's a great story, and the picture you flashed up, I don't know if you I almost had to pick myself up off the ground, but that's just the way you roll after 40 years, right?
Oh, don't we know it? Don't we
But we
know
all
it?
we all looking pretty good though. I'd have to say we're okay. You know, we're
Yeah,
still
yeah, we're all right. Yeah,
we woke up today, so heck, that's got to have most of it done.
that's
Yeah.
right. Trust me.
Absolutely. Well, I know we're going to talk about your AWA run, but were there other territories? Like, which one out of all of the territories, to kind of set it up, was maybe your favorite to work in?
I think Florida being my hometown, it was always nice to go home type of thing. Bo James there, yeah. Whoa, where do y'all get these pictures? My goodness. But anyway, Florida was always kind of my I enjoyed going home. Other than that, Texas would have to be kind of my favorite because it was no holds barred and we just did a lot of stuff in Texas, and so I think Texas would be my favorite other than Florida.
That Texas wrestling, world class out of that sportatorium there. You always got the impression on television that the sportatorium was such a high class building, but everybody that worked there said you have no idea unless you were there what the sportatorium was really like.
Honestly, that's the truth too. It was rough, but boy, the people didn't care. I think they would have sat on the floor, if they had to, and when we would have probably wrestled on the floor too if we had to, because we were going to put on a show one way or another, and it was just an incredible atmosphere.
That's great.
The illusion of television.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
So we're going to fast forward here, A, because of time constraints, and B, because we're AWA focused. So with all the territories that you were in, it was kind of surprising for me. I was doing photography for Pro Wrestling Illustrated back then, and I was really surprised when Jimmy Garvin came into the AWA. So how did that come about? How did your trip up to the frozen tundra begin?
Well, when I was getting ready to leave Dallas, I got a call from Vince's place, and so I was talking to them a little bit, and then I was talking to Vern and them a little bit, and I never really was a WWF or WWE guy at all. Never really had a desire to go there because we wouldn't have got along. He would have fired me probably in the first day. But and it's not that I'm hard to get along with. It's just that I can't bend. I don't kiss that kind of stuff.
Good.
So it ain't. We just clashed. I went up there momentarily, remember, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, Vince, I knew I wasn't going to get along with, so therefore I went to Vern, and I was of course glad, and then it started there, and I enjoyed myself there as well.
So, Jimmy, a lot of guys like Dick Slater, amongst many others, came up into, as Mick referred to us as, the frozen tundra. As a guy, you've said, you're a Florida guy. You were in the South for the most part. How did you adapt moving up from the warmth of Florida into the cold, at least in the wintertime, of Minnesota? I have to say, summers here are spectacular.
Yes, they are. And I guess it's not known worldwide, of course, but my wife Patty's from North Bay, Ontario, which is 200 miles north of Toronto, and it gets very cold up there too. Well, I went in 1967, Expo 67. I remember I went up there with my mom and stepfather and my brothers and stuff and sister, and anyway, I stayed up there and because I met Patty when I went up there in 1969. After that, I mean, before that, 1967 was Expo, and I think we would go up there in the summertime, and Ronnie would wrestle for Larry Kazaboski. So, long story short, I moved up there myself because I left home early, went to school up there for a while. So I did live in the winters briefly, but I was aware that because of that exposure to Northern Ontario, Minnesota, and pretty much if you draw a line straight across to east, you're going to run into North Bay there on Lake Nipissing. But yeah, it was cold up there, but we traveled a lot, so we never really were in it for weeks on end. I guess that may have helped too, right? You know, if you
Yeah.
if you're doing Vern's schedule and he's all over the place, well, you know, you touched on it now and then, but yeah, so I was used to it too from the North Bay experience, I think.
Good.
But it gets cold though. I mean, 40 below, 60 below North Bay with wind chill.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
That's when you know you've experienced it, when you just randomly throw out the words wind chill. When like, yes, it's like that's like the magic phrase. It's like, okay, yeah, you know exactly what it's all about.
Yeah, we don't care about. Excuse me, I'm gonna get this off. We don't care about the temperature. We want to know what the wind chill is.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. So when you were up here, like, who were the bookers? Did you have much contact with Vern and Greg during that part?
Yeah, we did. The bookers, you know, because that was a really weird time, right? I mean, that was right when the earth started to shake a little bit.
Yeah.
From Vince roaring over there in New York, and it was the beginning. It was the beginning of the, you know, the big shaking and stuff. So it wasn't real solid. You know, I can't even remember. You know, Greg and Vern, and then there was another guy in there. I can't remember his name. Leo Voss, I think was his name. He would, you know, be in there. But as far as an official type, like a Dusty Rhodes Booker or, you know, that kind of thing, it was you didn't know really. It was kind of hard. Michael and I always booked our own. I mean, we did our own storyline, so you didn't have to worry about, you know, what are we going to do? How are we going to book? You know, we filled in those blanks ourselves.
Okay. So who, I know a lot of people, we kind of go back to, it's not my fault. Who came up with that? Because that's just one of those phrases that is still, people, you say it and we're like, oh yeah, we instantly know that's Jimmy Garvin's gimmick. So who came up with that?
You know, I don't remember, and I could have, just because of my younger days, I did get a little creative, but I don't remember, unless if it was somebody, I apologize because I don't remember who it was. And I really have my doubts if anybody really said that and used it in the way I used it, kind of.
Oh, it was so great. It wasn't your fault that you were so good looking. It wasn't your fault that you were such a great wrestler. Yeah. Nothing was your fault. And
absolutely. And it fell in. It really made interviews and stuff like that kind of flow, because you could really stir up something with that statement in itself, you know. But
well, it's a perfect line for a heel to use, you know.
Yeah, because you can use it for anything.
Anything. The all-encompassing guy.
It's not my fault I burnt the biscuits. You know,
right.
It's not my fault I'm getting ready to kick your ass. I mean, it's got a wide range of use.
It's kind of like the word gimmick. You know, it becomes part of your everyday language after a while. Talking about the AWA, I know that when Nick Bockwinkel was champion here, he was offered a run with the NWA title, and Nick opted not to take it because he had fewer dates and could make real decent money in the AWA. So what was your overall feeling about the AWA? Satisfied with the money, satisfied with the travel? What was your take on it?
Yeah, Patty and I enjoyed it. We enjoyed the experience. Vern can be a little funny now and then, but you know, it you know, really that would be the first time when I think about it that we were in a territory that actually went far away from the home office.
Gotcha.
You know, like Florida's, Tampa's, everybody's in Florida, you know, and so on and so forth. You work for Vern, you're going to be in San Francisco, you're going to be in Phoenix, you're going to be Miami, you're going to be everywhere. You're in the whole United States almost, right?
Right.
So that was an experience, but it was good travel. They took care of us, you know.
Good.
And the money was the money. You know, the money was the money. You know, I mean, it's never right, but you know, hey.
Of course. Of course. Did this guy that we got on the screen right now, Wally Carbo, did you have any interaction with good old Uncle Wally at all?
Yeah, I see that when the picture came up, I was trying to think. I always got along with him. He was a money man or office guy in
Yeah.
Minneapolis, and so I never really sat and spent a lot of any formable time with him. But over the year that I was there, it was always a decent experience. He always showed me respect, and I did the same.
Jimmy, if you would have spent any extra time with him or any additional time, believe me, you would not be the same today.
Really? What is
oh,
it? Is he bad or?
No, in a good way. I mean, there's Wally Carbo stories that are absolutely legendary, from him being a ladies' man to, I mean, just all kinds of stuff. So,
well, see,
yeah.
that's a northern thing, because down south we wouldn't know that,
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I'm not holding it against you now.
No.
We don't want to get that north-south thing started again.
No, not anymore.
Jimmy, for most of your career, you were in the kayfabe era. And then Vince came along, things started to change. Cable television came in. The business went from a territory to national exposure. And then finally, the business got exposed. Can you just sort of share your thoughts on the evolution of the business and then kayfabe completely exposing everything that you had grown up protecting?
Yeah, I understand that. I started November 1st in 1969, so that's when the 60s, 70s, 80s type of thing. The so-called old school. And I apologize for the movement, but I'm moving stuff around here in my lap. But that's when, what's this? The saying they say, that's when wrestling was real. And that's when, because you could get your butt beat at any time. Well, that probably still stands true for sure. But I'm glad I was in that old school era. It was special time, and I'm not sure. I kind of lost my direction in your question. But did you want me to compare the two? Like the way it is now and the way it was when I was in it?
I mean, you could do a comparison, or just your general feelings. I guess in particular, when kayfabe got exposed,
Okay.
what were your feelings about
I think it's kind of like if you were having something to drink, and then you decide to pour a bunch of water in it, and then you drank it and tried to make yourself believe that it was tasted the same as it did before. And the fact is that when I was in it, it was really enjoyable to know that you were putting on the play, so to speak, but the people were really, really into it, And with that, you had instruments that you could use, like psychology wise, to where you could make the people but you could entice the people to pretty much do what you want to do, whether it's scream and yell, cry, jump up and down, or hit the ring, or applaud, or anything else. And it was sincere that they were doing it. The language you were speaking was sincere. Now, and I hope it makes sense when you go there now. It's like going to perform a play that everybody in the audience was already in. Not only in, but they acted in the play too. They knew there was no secret, or there was no, there's a word for that, but I can't think what it is right now. But it was just, it was, everything was out in the open, and it wasn't what they thought it was too. I think there was some disappointment to some degree. I mean, everybody kind of knew a little. They always whispered, I don't know, that's not real, blah, blah, blah. But then when it became really evident, and guys, kayfabe was gone, and this and that, and I mean, now you're just, it's like it is different. It is different.
Jimmy, talking about that, and you talked about the emotion, the fans getting into it back in the day, whether it was a suspension of disbelief or whatever. Nowadays, like you said, the fans are almost they're a hired staff with their chants and their signs. And, if a guy misses a spot, the fans let them know about it. And I mean, it's just like they hijack the show sometimes. So the fans become the stars and the wrestlers are secondary. And that I hate.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing too is when in the old days, if you watched, I'll use the guys that I knew down south, but like Jack Briscoe or Dory Funk or any of them guys, any of the wrestlers. And where I'm going with this is you'd watch them and like they would, you could get a headlock and work a headlock for 10 minutes. You could get a hold and the guy would sell for ever so long, and then he'd make this. Well, now it's like jumping beans. Nobody sells.
Right.
Nobody knows what the word "sell" means. They don't know. They wouldn't know how to do it if they did have the word explained to them, because they don't have the talent. So yeah, it's watered down.
It's not only the in-ring product, but the promos are so scripted. Back in the day, if you guys were working Minneapolis and then you're working Rockford, Moline, or whatever, you go out here, do 3 minutes on Moline, you're wrestling Rick Martel, and you guys would go out and wing it. And now it's cue cards and teleprompters and backstage vignettes. And it's just like you said, it's a Hollywood production.
Yeah, that's right. And it's watered down. It's just what they took all the suspense out of it. They took the, like you say, when the fans would cheer or boo or whatever they would do, and now it's just such a, and I'm not, I guess I am kind of talking, I don't want to talk bad about it, but it's just different. And it's not my cup of tea, really.
Yeah, you have to throw in the internet in there as well, where before kayfabe and before the internet, people were guessing. They did not know, but by the time a show comes on, I mean, they know the angle that's going on. They know that this wrestler has a pimple on her ass, or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's difficult for me to watch. Now, granted, I'm also not a 10, 12-year-old kid like I was in the 70s. I mean, there is I don't know, just sort of an more inherent attraction to the business, I think, at that age. As you get older, it's not quite the same, unless you're Mick, and 112 years old and still enjoy the business. Yes, Jimmy, we do give each other shit on this.
110, by the way, not 112.
Okay, sorry, I saw I aged you a little bit.
Well, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I'm like 108, so it's
right up there. Yeah.
But the business is different. You can tell some guys will go out and do a promo, and they shouldn't have a mic in front of them because that it's scripted. Where, I mean, and Jimmy, you were one of many. You came on, you had bullet points that you knew you had to get across in the 2 to 2.5 minute interview, and your own abilities and your own personality was able to shine because you weren't sitting there trying to think of your lines in the back of your head. Some talent can do that and come across and be effective, but
most can't.
Yeah, and when you can't, it is so evident on camera.
Yeah. It's a bad position to be in because they're saying stuff, but they don't mean it. They don't understand it or anything.
No, there's no emotion behind it. You know that they're reading lines. Jimmy, I got a question for you about the final years of the AWA. You were in for Wrestle Rock. That was 1986. Imagine that, 40 years ago. And the AWA was still doing relatively well, even in the face of the WWF. But 4 or 5 years later, the wheels fell off the bus. And a lot of people blame Vern and Greg, I guess, by proxy, for not keeping up with the times or whatever they have to. What's your take on that? Is there anything the AWA could have done at that point that would have extended their run?
Not without costing them a whole lot of money. And they just didn't, if you're going to spend a lot of money, you need to know that you're going to make a lot of money or it doesn't make any sense. And you're right. When I came in, it was like it was taking kind of the last few breaths, and you could see it and tell it and stuff. And it was kind of sad because you knew that, boy, if this company was firing like it was firing 5 or 6, 7, before the Vince, monster came out, we could do incredible stuff. And we did do incredible stuff, but it was wounded. So it was sad to see. It was inevitable because I don't think Vern, even if he would have spent a lot of money, I think Vince would go. It became a thing like it got personal with Vince.
Yes.
And so whatever it cost, whatever it needed, he was going to take every single territory and put him under the ground. That was his mission, and that was the way it was going to be. It's kind of like somebody else right now we got, but we definitely don't want to go there. So whatever, it's all about the money. That hasn't changed a bit. It's and money being the root of all evil, that hasn't changed a bit.
Right.
So
right.
Vince was coming. It was just a matter of time. The ground was shaking when I was there a little bit. Then I thought, well, we need to do what we're going to do and start planning.
Well said.
And that's what happened. Hogan, they left like they left.
Yeah.
And let's be clear that the fall or the beginning of the downfall of the AWA was not Jimmy's fault.
Oh, it by no means was my fault.
No, if anybody was not to blame,
it was
me. You're squeaky clean there, pal. Let's do a little name association. We're gonna just a few names. We're gonna put some pictures up on the screen, talk about this guy here. I think Michael Hayes. Give us a little capsule summary of Michael.
Well, let's see. Him and I probably should have died about 100 times. But that's the first thing that comes to mind is how that's the guy I would see. And it was really, Michael was a great guy. That's an understatement, really. I still talk to him. We still, and we're going to see each other at the end of July here. There's a thing called The Gathering, and we never go to it, but he's just, Michael Hayes. I got stories with Michael Hayes now.
I think we would need about 3 or 4 hours to tell those stories.
Yeah, and if I drink beer, we'd need at least a case or something like that.
Here goes another two guys that are I'm fairly innocent. I'm sure in all ways.
Yeah. Ooh, I swear I just get nervous and, scared when I see them because I know that the shit's starting to going to hit the fan soon.
Oh my God.
Lord have mercy. I have such memories with them guys. We had an apartment in Dallas. You want me to tell a little quick story about this? These guys? Yeah. We had an apartment in Dallas when we were there. And it was me and Sunshine at the time. And then Patty wasn't there yet, and the children. So I got this apartment for Patty because she was coming and everything like that. So I wanted to get everything ready. I got it like a month or two ahead of time. I never stayed at the apartment. I always stayed at the Freebird apartment. Well, one day we all came back and there was nobody had the key to the apartment. And Terry, we came back from the Dallas show on Friday night, and you got the key? No, you got the key. Terry says, I got the key. And he backed up and he kicked the door off the hinges, completely off the hinge. All the hinges, even the facial boards was peeled back. And it stayed that way for about a month because when we'd go to bed at night, we'd just lean the door up against the thing. And because everybody in the apartment complex knew who lived there, and they actually walked around that area so they didn't have to get close to that door. And I really can't blame them. But that was some crazy time.
Yeah, interior design by Terry Gordy. All right, let's take a look at another guy that I know.
Before you go on, I got one just quick question.
Okay.
Of the 3 Freebirds, who's the wildest?
Gordy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gordy, because Gordy can be unpredictable. Michael's wild, but you can predict a little better on Michael. Michael, you can kind of predict. Gordy, you cannot predict.
And Buddy would just drink his Jack Daniels.
And Buddy would do whatever he wanted to. Yeah. Lord have mercy.
I love it. Let's take here's a gentleman we lost just recently. And to me, another one of these such underestimated, underappreciated talents in the business. Steve Regal.
Wonderful friend of mine, that's just like a brother to me. Regal and I really got along well, and and you're right, it was a sad thing, and he was underrated because he had great talent. He was a good talker, but yeah, it's just one of those overlooked talents that there's a few out there, and it's sad, and you just hope that during their career they got at least some moment or two or something to shine a little bit, just to taste it a little bit. But they deserved to eat 3 times a day, not just once, and that's kind of what happens to these guys.
Well said.
Wonderful man.
Yeah, very sad that we lost Steve. Let's take another look who we got coming up. All right. A lot of people were critical and kind of raised an eyebrow when you and Steve went over the Road Warriors for the title. I think that was an absolutely brilliant decision on the part of the AWA because nobody saw it coming.
Well, nobody saw it coming, and nobody would believe it. So what the heck? No harm done, I mean, it's better than them thinking that, take any other team besides me and Riggs, because we were the most likely never to beat the Road Warriors. I mean, honestly, never, ever to beat the Road Warriors. And we did, so they knew something was up. And then the Road Warriors weren't going to drop it to anybody besides us, really, because that's the way they were. If if you were going to tell them they had to do this or do that, they weren't going to do it. Even if they did, they weren't going to do it. They made up their own deal, and they also knew that if they were going to drop it, they were going to drop it to the ones that everybody knew they had a chance in hell. But it was entertaining, but they ain't a chance in hell, and that way it didn't hurt them because nobody really. They thought, well, they must be friends or something, because there ain't no way, there wasn't too many people that legitimately could beat him anyway. So, it was one of those things where they were smart. They dropped it to us, and they didn't hurt them a bit.
Well, and the way the AWA did it, having the Freebirds come in,
yes,
it was done extremely well.
Yeah, nobody got hurt. Nobody got hurt. It made sense.
Perfect.
And that was the way it should be done. Nobody got hurt. Everybody was good.
Beautiful.
But great guys. Oh my goodness! I'm traveling on the road like with Hawk, and Animal was a little more subdued. Hawk was wild, so he fit right in with us, kind of. A lot of good stories out of Chicago and everywhere.
I can only imagine. We saved the best for last because we have to give somebody their flowers, and that is Patty. How entertaining! Talk a little bit about having her with you all these years, let alone on the road, and from a moral support standpoint. Just give us a little insight.
Well, first off, this summer, June. Actually July. It's 57 years we've been together.
Oh my God!
Wow.
So I'm more in love with her today than I was yesterday.
Wow.
And she's the same. I mean, we have such a special relationship that words can't even describe. I got so taken over by her beautiful picture that I can't speak. So what did you ask me again?
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of all the years that she was with you on the road, the sacrifices that she made, the moral support that she gave you. I mean, what an incredible story.
Well, you ain't kidding. I mean, honest to goodness, yeah, because she was there during all the 80s and all that stuff. I mean, even the 70s, because we were married in 72 and met in 69. But I mean, she's a gift. I think God sent her to me because without her, I probably wouldn't be talking to you now.
Wow.
Because she saved me. She said, I mean, I can't tell you. It's a storybook relationship, actually.
Fantastic. Love
it. Is she going to Waterloo with you?
No, I asked her, but she won't go out. I swear she won't. She just she just don't. Well, she didn't really want to do it anyway. The sunshine thing, kind of went south.
Yeah.
And so she came in, but she wasn't real thrilled about doing it to start with. But because she loved me so much, and she knew that I had worked hard on the gimmick, and it was on fire. That's what she did. And
Well, nobody can spray air freshener like Precious.
there you go.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up with got to talk about the award that you're getting in Waterloo. Jack Briscoe, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. How important and what an honor to get the Jack Briscoe Red Belt Award for your contributions to the business. You talk about being overlooked or underappreciated. Not this time, not in Waterloo.
No, I tell you, I got goosebumps all over me. Just the fact of that, because Jack was a very, very, very good friend of mine, and so was Gerald. I traveled with him so many times I can't count, and I loved Jack and Gerald too. But Jack was certainly had a special place in my heart. He was a great, great wrestler, needless to say, and I'm just overwhelmed. It was a total shock to me. I didn't know until I got the phone call. So I'm honored. I'm honored to even have my name mentioned in the same sentence with Jack. Totally honored. So.
Well, Jimmy, I know that we, the three of us, will also be in Waterloo this year.
Oh, will you? Well, then I get to meet you guys.
Yep.
In person.
And I had to say that because going back to the beginning of this podcast where I talked about how doing this interview with you sort of, I don't want to say it completes my circle because I like to think I've got quite a few years left, but it's certainly, this is the beginning of my round 2. And I didn't get a picture with you back in 1985. It's still burned in my memory, running the camera against the wall. Ken Resnick was doing the interview. But I look forward to meeting you in person, getting that photograph with you. Unfortunately, Steve is no longer with us. And yeah, I wish Precious would attend, but I'll take gorgeous Jimmy Garvin. It's nobody's fault that nobody else can be there.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm so glad that you guys are going to be there too. That's good. I didn't know you guys were going to come, so that's great. Friday, I think Friday is the first event, like in the afternoon sometime. I fly in Friday noon or something like that.
Okay.
I think Friday, maybe Thursday.
Thursday. Yeah, Thursday's like the everybody gets together and there's like a trivia that night, but like things really kick off on Friday.
Yeah, well, Thursday. Are y'all coming in on Thursday or Friday?
I'll be there. Mick and I will be there on Thursday. Joe, I'm not sure about.
I'm going to try for Thursday, but most likely Friday. Medusa's already talked me into playing on her team on Saturday for softball on Saturday morning at 8:30.
I know. I'm in that too. I don't know what I'm going to do, or what team. I don't know I don't know nothing about it.
Oh, sweet! So we're all playing because I'm playing, Joe's playing, you're playing.
I'm going all the way with you guys, all the way.
I love it. I love it. This is so awesome, man. Like,
we're gonna have a good time, guys. We're gonna have lunch together. We'll have dinner together. We can have. I don't drink, but I'll have a glass of wine or two with you.
Beautiful.
But I look forward to it. That's gonna be a treat.
Yeah, I gotta say, Mick had some technical difficulties. He lost some audio, so that's why you don't see him on screen. Okay. I'll speak for Mick.
Not his fault. No, it was his fault.
It's always Mick's fault.
It's always Mick's fault.
But no, Mick would say he's looking forward to seeing you down there. And I know that you've got to run. That's why we're cutting this shorter than usual. But
sorry.
Thank you so very much for being on the podcast. And I look forward to seeing you again down in Waterloo, Iowa. It's been a pleasure, Jimmy. Thank you very much.
Mine as well. Much respect to you guys. Okay. And have a wonderful day.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Jimmy. We'll see you in Iowa.
See you later. Right. Bye-bye.
There he is. Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin. And I got to tell you, man, Like, he is every bit as nice. When I was corresponding with him, Joe, he was very cordial. And, sometimes people are different in text or email than they are in person. I mean, just what a nice guy. He makes you feel at ease. And you can't say that for everybody that you talk to.
Yeah, even though he was my first interview and had the pleasure of working with him. When I say working with him, me running camera, him being the talent on camera. It was for a very short time, and I mean literally a few months, because Jimmy had really left the AWA before Wrestle Rock hit. Came back, partnered with Michael Hayes, Road Warriors in the Cage, and then that was the end of it. He was gone after that. But here, when Jimmy first came on camera, and I had seen photos of him, and we showed photos with the long curly black locks and so forth. See, that's the gorgeous Jimmy Garvin that I remember, that everybody remembers.
Yes. Yeah.
We all age. I didn't have this when I was 20 years old. We all age, and Jimmy looked different. But the second that he started talking, boom, yep, that's gorgeous Jimmy Garvin.
Yeah, and it's when he first started, and every other time it's like, yeah. See, my first memories of Jimmy Garvin were in the Freebirds and NWA WCW, and part of, he's like, yeah. And as soon as he said the yeah, I'm like, okay, they say the best gimmicks are you just turned up to 11. And it was like, I could just tell that. So yeah, this was fun for me because, again, I don't have the Regal Jimmy Garvin run, but I think about it, and I'm so glad that he talked about the Road Warriors, that he talked about his relationship with Gordy and Buddy and Michael Hayes, and then of course Precious, and just the way that he talked about his wife too is just, I mean, after 57 years to just still feel that way about your spouse, man, and in the wrestling business, apparently that is an anomaly when you get something like that. So I just think that shows the character of Jimmy and Patty.
57 years together, whether you're in the wrestling industry or not, in this day and age, is a rarity. You throw into the mix the rigors of professional wrestling. And I got to add, as Jimmy alluded to, Precious wasn't exactly... She didn't exactly want to do, Patty didn't want to do the Precious gimmick. Patty's a real name. Precious is, her gimmick name. She didn't want to do it, but the fact that she did it. And by the way, and I was going to bring this up to Jimmy, what I noticed, I never saw Patty Precious take a bump.
I never saw that. And I think, you know what? I don't ever remember seeing that either. And I thought I read that was by design. Like, she was going to be very, very, I want to say limited, but I mean, she was going to be very protected in what she did.
Well, the great part about that is everybody always wanted to see her get hit or to take that bump, but it never happened. And that's the magic of what wrestling used to be, is that anticipation, that hope of. And 98% of the time, 99% of the time, at some point, that realization would happen. In the case with Precious, it never did. And here we are talking about it, saying she never took a bump. And now I don't want to see her take a bump.
No.
In hindsight, back in the day, oh, definitely. It's like, when is she going to take a bump? Even when
she got to get her comeuppance.
Yeah, and even when Baron turned into Bertha von Raschke, I thought, okay, maybe at that point that something would happen, but it never did. And it just lends to the mystique of Precious.
Yeah, and I was going to say there was a magic there with it, but I like yours in the mystique. Let's go ahead and you know what? I'm not going to shill the pinfall stuff. I'm just going to put that up there, and I'm going to say, hey, for $4.99 a month, you get this a day early. You get our monthly video. We've also got some of the new additions to the pinfall membership, are some of the events in their entirety, Joe, that we're going to start putting up along with our watch alongs. You get the Back to Ringside with Mick and myself, which is a weekly show that we talk about the goings on in the world of professional wrestling. Something good, mostly bad, because I mean, let's be frank, there are a lot of things to be criticized, but there are some good things. But we do kind of get you up to date with what's going on for those that really don't want to, pay attention to the newer stuff. You get a thank you letter from myself with the sticker and a magnet, and then you get 5 pictures from Slick Mix Picks. The link is in the description to become a pinfall member for $4.99 a month. We feel like it's the best $5 that you could spend on wrestling podcasting. So there's the shilling for that. Let's get the shout outs and then go home.
Well, I see on our list, if you don't mind, I'll do Mick's shout out for him. He put down Merv Unger. Don't know the reasons behind it other than Merv is deserving of it. Been around the wrestling business forever. If I'm not mistaken, and that Merv is going under some health issues. Hopefully, all is going in the right direction for Merv. But that is Mick's shout out. And again, Mick had some technical difficulties, so that's why he is not on the pod right now. My shout out, or as I like to call it, my blind dart throw of the week, is another new member of AWA Unleashed, Joe Dabrowski. And I got to admit, Joe, that you got me to pick your name because, well, look at the last name, Dabrowski. Certainly not Irish. I'm guessing you got a little bit of Pole in you. So my shout out, Joe Dabrowski.
Oh, good. Just we need another Polish Joe.
We need a lot of them.
And mine's go to our friend Tom Hollick up in Winnipeg, keeping busy with his PA announcing, but been a pinfall member for a long time, and I want to thank Tom for all of his support. And again, if you want to be like Tom, link is in the description. So that being said, anything else before we decide that we're going to wrap it up? And I have no idea what we're doing next week. You know what? Doesn't matter because I don't know what we're doing from day to day, but that's okay. This was fun. I'm glad that we got Jimmy Garvin on, and I'm totally going to take him up on having lunch with him. And I mean, getting to play softball with Jimmy Garvin, and the weekend in Waterloo, to me, I told my buddy Ryan, I'm like, this is kind of the it thing to do during the summertime for a wrestling fan. And it just keeps getting bigger and better and bigger and better. And I can't wait. I'm so excited for it this year.
Well, speaking of Waterloo, you did bring up, or you said, not sure what we're doing next week. And I don't know if it's going to be next week, but very shortly we will be highlighting the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame weekend, getting it plugged. As I mentioned, Mick, Chris, and I will be down there. Medusa's got me playing softball on her team. Let's see, when she texted me, in her words, she wants to kick JBL's ass.